I want to ask you a question, and I want you to answer it honestly, not with what your organization's sustainability report says, and not with what you said at the last board presentation, with what you actually believe. Here it is. When a capital allocation decision arrives, a product design choice, a supplier contract, a material specification, and the sustainable option costs more, takes longer, or requires renegotiating a relationship that's been running for a decade, what does your organization actually do? Not what does it say it believes, what does it do? That question is not rhetorical. It's the most precise diagnostic question available for understanding what is actually governing your organization's sustainability decisions. And in 40 years of working inside organizations that were genuinely committed to getting this right, I found that the answer to that question, the real answer, revealed by what the organization actually does rather than what it says, is almost always different from what the sustainability report describes. That gap between the stated belief and the operative belief is what this episode is about. It has a name and it's diagnosable. In the 1970s, a Harvard organizational theorist named Chris Argyris made an observation that should have changed how every organization thinks about its sustainability commitments. He noticed that organizations and the people inside them operate on two levels simultaneously. The first level is what he called espoused theory. This is what the organization says guides its behavior. The value statement, the sustainability strategy, the commitments that were made at the offsite meeting. The principles that are listed on the website. The espoused theory is visible, articulable, and available for inspection. If you ask a senior leader what the organization believes about sustainability, they will tell you the espoused theory. The second level is what Argyris called theory in use. This is what actually guides behavior. And it's revealed not by what people say, but by the decisions they make when the espoused theory and the operational logic come into conflict. The capital allocation that went to the cheaper, less sustainable option. The design decision that arrived fully formed with materials already specified for cost, rather than, say, cycling properties. The supplier that was kept on because changing it would require a conversation that nobody wanted to have. These decisions are not made by people who do not care. They're made by people operating inside a system whose theory and use, the operative beliefs that are embedded in the incentive structures, the approval processes, and the performance metrics, is different from the espoused theory that's on the wall. Argyris called the mechanisms by which organizations protect their theories in use from examination defensive routines. Now, defensive routines are not cynical. They operate below the level of conscious deliberation. The organization does not experience its theory in use as a set of beliefs that could be examined or changed. It experiences it as rational decision making, as the way things work, as reality. That is the structural reason why sustainability commitments, however genuine, however well resourced, however seriously intended, consistently produce something less than the outcomes they were designed for. The espoused theory is in the commitment. The theory in use is in the decision. And the decision is what produces the outcome. Let me make this concrete. The first example is a company I've worked with whose name I will not use here. What I will describe is a pattern I've seen in some variation in almost every organization I've encountered across 40 years. The company has a genuine sustainability program, a dedicated team, published targets, A third-party verified annual report. The people who are running the program are intelligent, committed, and working hard. The program has a materials policy. It states that new product development will prioritize materials that can be recovered and recycled at the end of use, designed in from the beginning rather than addressed as a compliance consideration after the design is committed. This is the espoused theory. It is in writing, it's been reviewed by the board, and it was announced publicly. Now here is the theory in use. The stage gate product development process has 5 gates. Gate 1 is the concept development, the moment of maximum degrees of freedom when the design space is fully open and every material choice is still available. Gate 3 is the design lock, the moment when the materials are specified, supplier relationships are contracted, and the commercial model is validated against margin assumptions. The sustainability team reviews at Gate 3. Not Gate 1, Gate 3. After the design is committed, after the materials are specified, and after the supplier contracts are signed. At Gate 3, the sustainability team's role is to negotiate improvements within a constrained space, to see whether recovery properties can be improved within the already specified material, or whether a packaging reduction is achievable within the already committed decision, whether the supplier will disclose the chemistry of a material that has already been contracted. This is not the espoused theory. The espoused theory says sustainability is designed in from the beginning. The theory in use, the one that actually governs, says sustainability reviews happen after the design decisions have been made. Nobody decided this. It's not in any policy document. It's just the natural expression of a belief that's so embedded in organizational life that it never required a decision. That the sustainability function's role is to improve the output of decisions already made elsewhere, not to be present when the decisions are being made. That belief set the ceiling for every sustainability initiative this company has run. Not because the program was poorly designed, because the program was operating on the espoused theory while the decisions were being governed by the theory in use. The second example is more personal. When I was at SC Johnson, building one of the first corporate sustainability departments at a major multinational, I watched the eco-efficiency ceiling assert itself across years of genuine effort. We were achieving real reductions in packaging intensity, real cost savings, real improvements in specific environmental metrics. And the trajectory was not changing in proportion to any of it. At the time, I attributed this to the law of diminishing returns, the easy gains that had been already taken. Further improvement required more complex changes. The business case was less favorable. These were all accurate observations, but they were not the whole truth. The whole truth was this. The company's growth targets, set separately by a different function, governed by a different logic, were absorbing all the efficiency gains faster than the sustainability program could produce them. A 5% reduction in packaging intensity achieved through genuine effort was consumed within 18 months by a 7% increase in total volume. The sustainability program was operating on the espoused theory. We are reducing our impact per unit. The business was operating on its theory in use. Growth is the primary objective, and sustainability is a way of making the growth more efficient rather than being a constraint on what growth should be. Neither of those beliefs was stated. The espoused theory said sustainability and growth were compatible. The theory in use revealed that growth governed when they conflicted. That gap between what the company said it believed and what its decisions revealed it believed was the ceiling. Not a lack of effort, not a lack of intelligence, but a gap between two levels of belief that nobody had examined, named, or made the target of any instrument. I want to give this a name because naming it is the first step towards doing something about it. The gap between what an organization says it believes and what its decisions reveal it actually believes is the belief gap. Every organization has one. The size, the location, and the specific beliefs governing it vary. But the structure is consistent. Espouse theory in the public documents, theory in use in the decisions. Now, the belief gap is not evidence of dishonesty. It's not a culture problem or a talent problem. It's a structural feature of how organizations make decisions, and it's one that the sustainability movement has been working around rather than through for 40 years. Every sustainability instrument ever built has operated at the level of espoused theory. Better reporting, more ambitious targets, more rigorous certification, more comprehensive disclosure. These are all instruments that address what organizations say they believe, the espoused theory. None of them address the theory in use. None of them were designed to. Argyris named this problem in 1978. He spent his career at Harvard trying to develop instruments that could reach the theory in use, that could then make defensive routines visible to the people inside the system producing them. The sustainability movement encountered his work, but it did not embed it. The result is a 40-year pattern of improving espoused theory and a ceiling set by an unchanged theory in use. I want to be clear about what changes when the belief gap is named and examined. Not the espoused theory, that is already as good as any sustainability communications team could ever make it. What changes is the theory in use, the operative beliefs governing the decisions at the moment that actually determine outcomes. When the stage gate review happens at gate 1 instead of gate 3, because the operative belief about when sustainability enters the design process has been examined and changed. Then different products emerge. Not incrementally better products, products designed with different logic from the beginning. When the growth target and the sustainability target are governed by a single operative belief about what the organization is for, rather than by two separate beliefs that then conflict under pressure, different capital allocation decisions get made. Not more sustainable decisions because someone somewhere is asking for them, but because the belief governing what counts as a good return has changed. These are not small changes. They're the changes that produce different trajectories rather than improving metrics inside unchanged trajectories. And they begin at a level below where any strategy conversation, any reporting instrument, and any certification program has ever been designed to reach. They begin at stage 0, the belief examination. The question that stage 0 asks of every organization is the question I asked you at the opening of this video. When the sustainable option becomes inconvenient, when it costs more, takes longer, or requires a difficult conversation, what does your organization actually do? The answer to that question is the map of the belief gap. And the belief gap is now mappable, not through a survey, not through a culture assessment, but through a structured conversation that reads your organization's language against the 12 belief pairs that determine where the ceiling is built, and produces a written map of exactly where the gap is widest and what decisions it's been producing and what closing it requires. That instrument is called the Belief Architecture Diagnostic. And if what I've described in this episode names something that your organization is experiencing, if the gap between what you say you believe and what your decisions reveal is something that you felt without being able to name it, the link below is where the conversation begins. The first conversation is free. The belief gap map that follows from it is not, but it's the most precise explanation available for what you have been pressing up against.